The rain hammered Portland's streets that Thursday evening, transforming Burnside into a river of reflected brake lights and neon glow. Victoria Morgan stood beneath the awning of a modest apartment building in Selwood, her Vera Wang gown clinging to her body like a second skin. The train dragging through puddles she no longer cared about ruining. Her hand trembled as she raised it to knock on apartment 3B. She'd left 850 guests waiting at the Sentinel Hotel, abandoned a reception that cost more than most families earned in 3 years, walked away from Marcus Cunningham III, Harvard legacy venture capital titan. The man her father had called the perfect merger of dynasties and fortunes. But perfect was a lie she could no longer stomach. Her knuckles touched the door. One knock, then another. She heard movement inside the shuffle of footsteps, a child's distant laughter cut short. Then silence, the kind that comes when someone checks a peephole and sees the impossible standing on the other side. The door opened slowly, revealing a man who looked nothing like the polished executives populating her world. Daniel Mitchell stood in worn jeans and a faded Trailblazers t-shirt, his dark hair slightly disheveled, his brown eyes wide with concern, and something else. Something that had lived unspoken between them for 3 years. His voice came through careful and confused. "Tori, what are you doing here?" The words tumbled out broken. Please let me in." He pulled the door wider, his gaze taking in the full picture. Now the wedding dress, the smeared mascara, the bouquet of orchids and roses she still clutched like a lifeline. "Jesus, you're soaking wet. Get inside before you—" He stopped really seeing her now. She stepped into his small living room, water pooling around her ruined designer heels. The apartment was warm and lived in nothing like her downtown penthouse with its sterile elegance. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator, a half-completed puzzle spread across the coffee table. The faint scent of marinara sauce lingered in the air. The confession came in a rush. I couldn't do it. I was standing there in the bridal suite looking at myself in the mirror, and all I could think was that I was about to promise forever to a man I don't love, a man I've never loved, and I couldn't. Daniel closed the door carefully, his movements deliberate, as if any sudden gesture might shatter the surreal moment unfolding in his living room. "You left your wedding." "I left my wedding." "Does anyone know where you are?" She set the bouquet on his bookshelf next to a framed photo of Daniel and a little girl at the zoo. "No. I told the driver to let me out 6 blocks away, walked the rest. I don't think anyone followed me." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd watched him make 1,000 times during meetings, during presentations, during the late nights when they'd worked together on projects that changed the trajectory of her company. "Tori, you can't just— your fiancé, your family, the press. This is going to be a nightmare." "I know." She met his eyes. "I know exactly what I've done. What it means. What it's going to cost." She took a step closer. "But I had to see you before everything explodes. Before the world tells me all the reasons this is insane. I had to tell you the truth." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. What truth? But he already knew. She could see it in the way his breathing had changed, in the careful distance he maintained, even as his eyes betrayed him. "That I'm in love with you." The confession hung between them, 3 years of careful professionalism and deliberate distance shattering with 6 words. "That I've been since the first month you started working for me. That every decision I've made, every reason I've given myself to stay with Marcus, every attempt to do the right thing and maintain boundaries and be the CEO everyone expects, it's all been a lie built on top of one simple truth." Her voice softened. "You're the only man I've ever wanted." Daniel's face went through emotions too complex to name: shock, fear, longing, something that looked dangerously close to hope. "You don't mean that. You're upset. You're overwhelmed." "Don't." The sharpness in her voice surprised them both. Don't tell me what I feel. I've spent 3 years watching you be kind to everyone in that office. 3 years noticing how you always remember people's birthdays, how you check on the junior engineers when they're struggling, how you light up when you talk about Emma. She moved closer, and he didn't step back. I've memorized the way you push your glasses up when you're thinking, the way you laugh when something genuinely surprises you, the way you go quiet when you're working through a complex problem. The distance between them had shrunk to nothing. I know you take Emma to violin lessons every Tuesday evening. I know you volunteer at the food bank on Saturdays. I know you've been rebuilding your life piece by piece since Sarah died, and that you carry her memory with such grace. It breaks my heart every time I see it. Her voice dropped. And I know that I've felt something from you too. In the careful distance you keep. In the way you look at me sometimes when you think I'm not paying attention. In the absolute professionalism that feels less like protocol and more like protection. His response came strained. Tori, I work for you. You're my boss. You're the CEO of a company worth billions. I'm a senior engineer raising a 7-year-old daughter in a 2-bedroom apartment. We can't. I know what the world sees. Trust fund princess and struggling widower, boss and employee, woman who has everything and man who's lost too much. But that's not what this is. You know it isn't. Then what is it? The question came out raw. It's the only honest thing in my entire life. The silence that followed broke with a small voice from the hallway. Daddy, who's here? Both of them froze. Daniel turned toward the sound, his entire demeanor shifting into protective father mode. Emma, honey, go back to bed. It's someone from work. A little girl appeared in the doorway, clutching a stuffed elephant, her dark curls wild from sleep. She wore pajamas covered in stars and moons. When she saw Tori, her eyes went wide. Wow, you look like a princess. Despite everything, the chaos, the fear, the impossibility of what she'd just done, Tori found herself smiling. Thank you, sweetheart. Why are you all wet? I was walking in the rain. Emma considered this with the serious logic of 7-year-old wisdom. That's not very smart. You could get sick. You're absolutely right. I should have brought an umbrella. I have an umbrella. It has ladybugs on it. Emma stepped closer, examining Tori with open curiosity. Are you a real princess? No, honey. I'm just someone who wore a fancy dress to see your dad. Oh. Emma seemed to accept this. Is it a special occasion? Daniel cleared his throat. Emma, go back to bed, please. I'll come check on you in a minute. Something in his tone registered. Emma nodded, gave Tori one last curious look, and padded back down the hallway. They heard her bedroom door close softly. Tori turned toward the exit. I should go. I shouldn't have come here. I wasn't thinking clearly. His hand caught her wrist, gentle but firm. Stop. Don't run. Not now. Not after saying all of that. The question came out broken. What do you want me to do? Tell me what you want, Daniel, because I've been trying to figure it out for 3 years and I still don't know. Every time I think I see something in the way you look at me, you pull back. Every time we work late and the air between us feels like it's crackling with everything we're not saying, you find a reason to leave early. She searched his face. So tell me, am I crazy? Am I inventing something that doesn't exist because I'm so desperate to feel something real that I've projected it onto the kindest man in my orbit? You're not crazy. His grip on her wrist tightened slightly. You're not inventing anything. The words came out heavy with old grief. When Sarah died 3 years ago, 3 years, 4 months, and 11 days, it was a brain aneurysm. She was making breakfast. Emma was watching cartoons. I was in the shower. By the time I found her on the kitchen floor, she was already gone. Tori's free hand rose to her mouth. The first year was just survival. Getting Emma through it, getting myself through it, learning how to be both parents when I barely knew how to be one. The second year was rebuilding new job, new city, new life where people didn't look at me with pity. He met her eyes. And then I walked into Morgan Industries for my first day, and you were standing in the lobby arguing with the coffee machine, and I felt something I hadn't felt since Sarah died. Something I had no right to feel. Not for my boss. Not for someone so far out of my league we might as well live on different planets. I'm not out of your league. Tori, you're worth $180 million. I make $92,000 a year. I'm a woman who's been sleepwalking through a life designed by other people. You're a man who rebuilt himself from ashes and turned into someone good, someone genuine, someone who makes me want to be honest instead of strategic. She stepped closer. You want to talk about leagues? I've spent 3 years in rooms full of powerful people who would sell their integrity for market share without blinking. You're raising a daughter with kindness and patience. You treat the maintenance staff with the same respect you show the board members. You build things that matter, and you don't need credit for it. Her voice dropped. You're so far above my league, it's not even funny. That's not how the world sees it. The world also thinks marrying Marcus Cunningham is a good decision. The world is wrong about a lot of things. Daniel released her wrist but didn't step back. They stood inches apart, 3 years of careful distance, finally collapsing. This can't work. You know that. Even if we both feel this, the optics alone would destroy you. Your board would revolt. The press would crucify you. And Emma, his voice caught. I can't put her through a scandal. She's already lost her mother. I won't let my choices damage her more. I know. Tori's voice was steady now, certain. I know all the reasons this is impossible. I've listed them to myself 1,000 times. That's why I stayed with Marcus. That's why I said yes when he proposed. Because it was safe, expected, the kind of merger everyone understood. She paused. But standing in that bridal suite today, looking at a future where I'd spend 50 years pretending to be content with a man I don't love, I realized something. The certainty in her voice surprised even her. I'm 34 years old, and I've never once done something just because it was what I truly wanted. Every choice has been calculated, strategic, designed to build the company. Satisfy the board, make my father proud. Prove I earned my position instead of inheriting it. You did earn it. Maybe. But I've never tested whether I could keep it if I stopped playing by everyone else's rules. She reached out, let her fingers brush his jaw. He didn't pull away. I don't have a plan, Daniel. I don't have a strategy. All I know is that I stood in front of that mirror today and saw a stranger. And then I thought about you, about the way you look when you're explaining code to Emma, or the quiet concentration on your face when you're solving a problem, or the smile you try to hide when someone tells a bad joke. Her thumb traced his cheekbone. And suddenly, I could breathe again. Tori, I'm not asking you for anything. I'm not asking you to fix this or save me or make this make sense. I just needed you to know before the world goes insane, before lawyers and PR teams and damage control turn tonight into something it wasn't. I needed you to know that when I walked away from that wedding, I wasn't running from something. She met his eyes. I was running toward you. The space between them had become almost non-existent. She could feel the warmth of him, smell the faint scent of fabric softener, and something distinctly him. His hand came up, cupping her face with such gentleness it made her chest ache. His whisper barely reached her. I've wanted to kiss you since the day you defended Mike in that board meeting. When you stood up to those investors and told them that laying off the quality assurance team would be morally bankrupt and strategically idiotic. You were magnificent, and I sat there thinking that I'd never seen anyone use their power to protect people instead of control them, and that I was in so much trouble. Then kiss me. It wasn't a demand. It was permission. If I do this, if we cross this line, there's no going back. You know that. I know. Your life will never be the same. Good. I don't want it to be the same. I want it to be real. He kissed her soft at first, almost hesitant, as if 3 years of wanting had made him forget how. But then Tori's hand slid into his hair and his arms came around her waist, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home and jumping off a cliff at the same time. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. What have we done? The most terrifying thing possible. Tori's smile was shaky, but genuine. We told the truth. Her phone buzzed in the small purse she'd somehow managed to keep clutched during her escape, then buzzed again and again. The world was catching up. She pulled it out, saw 19 missed calls from her father, 14 from Marcus, 27 from her assistant, and a series of increasingly frantic texts from her mother. The messages painted a clear picture. Where are you? Everyone is looking for you. Marcus is beside himself. This is unacceptable, Victoria. Call me immediately. And then from her father. Whatever you're doing, stop. Come home. We'll fix this. They'll fix it. Tori's voice was hollow. They'll spin it. Mental breakdown, cold feet overwhelmed by pressure. They'll have me back at Marcus's side by morning with some carefully crafted statement about love conquering doubts. Daniel's voice was carefully neutral, giving her space to choose. Will you go? No. The word came out strong, clear. I won't go back. I won't fix it. I won't let them turn tonight into something it wasn't. Then what will you do? I don't know. She looked at him. Really looked at him, taking in the concern and fear and impossible hope written across his face. But I know I won't lie anymore. Not about this. Not about what I feel. Tori, they'll destroy you. Your father, Marcus, the board, they have power resources. They'll make this as painful as possible. Let them try. There was steel in her voice now, the same steel that had built a company from her father's regional success into a national powerhouse. I didn't get where I am by backing down from difficult fights. This is different. This is personal. Exactly. She kissed him again, quick and fierce. This is the first fight that's ever really been mine. Her phone rang her father. She declined the call. You should answer. Avoiding them will only make it worse. I know, but I need one more minute. One more minute where it's just us and the truth, and nothing else. They stood there in his small living room, her in her ruined wedding dress, him in his worn t-shirt and jeans. While outside, the rain continued to fall, and somewhere across the city, 850 guests were learning that Victoria Morgan had vanished from her own wedding. Daniel asked quietly, what happens now? Now I face it. All of it. The consequences, the fallout, the scandal. She straightened her spine, feeling something shift inside her, the CEO mask sliding back into place, but different now, backed by truth instead of performance. But I need to know something first. What? Are you with me? Because I can't control what happens next. I can't promise this won't touch you and Emma. I can't guarantee the board won't force me out or that the press won't make our lives hell. All I can promise is that I meant every word I said tonight, that I'm done pretending, that I'm going to fight for this for us with everything I have. She paused. But I need to know if you want me to, if you're willing to take this risk. Because if you're not, if you need to protect Emma, if this is too much, if you need me to walk away, I will. I'll find a way to keep you out of it. He stopped her spiraling with a hand on her cheek. Tori, I lost Sarah. I know what it's like to have someone ripped away without warning, without choice, to spend the rest of your life wondering what if, and never getting an answer. His voice was thick with emotion. I'm terrified. I'm terrified for Emma, for you, for what this could mean. But I'm not going to let fear make me choose wrong again. I'm not going to be the reason you look back in 20 years and wonder what might have happened if someone had been brave enough to meet you halfway. The certainty in his voice wrapped around her like armor. I'm with you. Whatever comes, however bad it gets, I'm with you. The kiss that followed was different from the first, not tentative or exploratory, but claiming a promise made in the space between heartbeats. When her phone rang again, Tori answered. Her father's voice was cold fury barely contained. "Where the hell are you?" "I'm safe, Dad. That's all you need to know right now. Safe, you humiliated this family, embarrassed Marcus, made us all look like fools. Get back here immediately." "No." The silence on the other end was shocked. Tori rarely defied her father directly. "What did you say?" "I said no. I'm not coming back. I'm not marrying Marcus. And before you start planning how to fix this or spin this or manage this, you need to know something." She drew in a breath. "I didn't leave because I was scared or confused. I left because I don't love him. I've never loved him. And I'm done pretending I do just because it makes good business sense. This isn't about love, Victoria. This is about legacy partnership. The merger of two families who have built. I don't care about the merger." Her voice cut through his. "I don't care that Marcus's family has connections we need or that his venture capital firm could help our expansion. I care that I almost promised forever to someone I couldn't even like, let alone love, because everyone told me it was the smart play." "You're being irrational." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm being honest for the first time in my life. You'll regret this. When the board demands answers, when the press tears you apart, when you realize what you've thrown away, then I'll regret it. But at least it will be my choice, my consequence, my life." She glanced at Daniel, drew strength from his steady presence. "I spent 3 years building what you started into something bigger, better. I tripled our market value, landed contracts you said were impossible, proved I earned my position. And the whole time I let you and Mom and the board tell me who to marry, how to present myself, which version of Victoria Morgan the world needed to see." Her voice softened. "I'm done, Dad. I'm done being the perfect daughter, the perfect CEO, the perfect merger candidate. I'm just going to be me. And if that's not enough, then you and the board can find someone else to play the part. If you don't fix this, if you don't come back and make this right, there will be consequences. I know, I'm counting on it, because maybe consequences are what I need to finally figure out who I actually am when I stop trying to be who everyone else needs." She ended the call. Her hands were shaking. Daniel took them in his warm and solid and real. That was terrifying. That was brave. "Same thing, I think." A sound from the hallway made them both turn. Emma stood there again, elephant clutched tighter now, her small face worried. "Daddy, why is the princess crying?" Tori touched her face, surprised to find tears there. Daniel moved to his daughter, kneeling to her level. "She's okay, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups cry when they're scared and brave at the same time." "Is she staying?" The question hung in the air, simple and impossible. "Not tonight, baby. But maybe," he looked at Tori, "maybe she'll visit again soon." "Okay." Emma seemed to accept this. "You should give her dry clothes. Mommy Sarah always said nobody thinks clearly when they're cold and wet." The casual mention of his late wife, so natural for Emma, so clearly part of their daily life, made something squeeze in Tori's chest. This wasn't just about her and Daniel. This was about a little girl who'd already lost one important woman who might lose more if this went badly. Tori said softly, "Your daughter is very wise. She gets it from her mom." Daniel's voice was gentle with old grief and present love. "I should go. Find a hotel, figure out my next move. I've disrupted your evening enough." "Where will you go?" "I don't know. Somewhere the press won't think to look. I need time to think before I face the board, the public, all of it." The offer came quiet, almost hesitant. "You could stay here." The couch pulls out. You're exhausted. It's late, and the last thing you need is paparazzi catching you checking into a hotel in a wedding dress. He managed a small smile. Besides, Emma's right. You should get dry. This is already complicated enough without me staying over. It's already as complicated as it gets. What's one more complication? She looked around his small apartment, so different from her penthouse, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and designer everything. This place was lived in, loved in, full of mismatched furniture and daughter-made art, and the kind of warmth that money couldn't buy. Okay, just for tonight. Then I'll figure out the rest. Daniel found her clothes, a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt that had clearly belonged to Sarah, soft from years of washing. Tori changed in the bathroom, carefully hanging the wedding dress over the shower rod where it dripped steadily into the tub. When she emerged, Daniel had made tea and set out the pull-out couch with blankets that smelled like fabric softener and home. She took the mug he offered. Thank you. For listening. For not telling me I'm insane. You might be insane. He handed her the tea. But if you are, at least you're honest about it. They sat on the couch, careful distance between them, now both aware of Emma sleeping down the hall and the enormity of what they'd started. Tomorrow's going to be hell. Probably. The board will be furious. Marcus will want blood. My father might actually disown me. Yeah. And you and I, we work together. Or worked together. This breaks every HR policy ever written. Definitely. So why don't I regret it? She looked at him over her tea. Why does this feel like the first right thing I've done in years? Because maybe it is. Daniel set down his mug, turned to face her fully. Tori, I need to be clear about something. I'm not going to be your escape, your rebellion, the proof that you can make choices your father doesn't approve of. If we do this, if we try this, it has to be because you actually want me, not what I represent, not some fantasy of a simpler life. Me spreadsheets and dad jokes and a 7-year-old who will wake you up at dawn on weekends. This life, this reality. I know what I'm choosing. Do you? Because right now you're running from something. And that's okay. Sometimes running is exactly what we need to do, but eventually you have to run towards something, and I need to know what that something is before I let myself believe this could actually work. Tori set down her own mug, took his hands. I'm running toward the first person who ever made me want to stop performing. The first man who treated me like a person instead of a prize or a problem to solve. The first time I felt like myself. Actually myself. Not CEO Tori, or daughter Tori, or any of the other versions, was every time I walked past your desk and you looked up and smiled like seeing me was the good part of your day. She squeezed his fingers. I don't want escape, Daniel. I want truth. I want someone who will call me on my mistakes. I want Sunday mornings and terrible coffee and someone who actually cares more about what kind of person I am than what I can do for them. Her voice dropped. I want you. However that looks, whatever that costs. It's going to cost everything. Then I'll pay it. Because everything I have right now feels like nothing compared to this. They sat in silence for a long moment, the enormity of it settling over them. Daniel finally asked, What do we do now? Now I sleep. Tomorrow I face the board. I tell them the truth. I let them decide if honesty is a quality they want in their CEO or a liability they need to eliminate. She leaned her head on his shoulder, felt him stiffen briefly before relaxing into the contact. And then, whatever happens, I stop living my life according to other people's expectations. I figure out what Victoria Morgan actually wants when nobody's telling her what she should want. And if what I want is this us, then I fight for it with everything I have. Every skill I've developed, every hard decision I've learned to make, every ounce of stubborn determination that built a billion-dollar company. She tilted her head to look at him. Fair warning, I'm very good at getting what I want when I actually commit to wanting it. That's what terrifies me. The idea that you might actually pull this off. You should be terrified. I'm about to upend your entire life. Maybe my life needed upending. Tori stood suddenly exhausted in a way that went bone deep. I should sleep. Tomorrow's going to be brutal. Yeah. Daniel stood too. Tori. Yeah. Thank you. For being brave enough to knock on my door. For trusting me with this. For... He stopped searching for words. For making me feel like maybe Sarah wasn't the only woman I'd ever love. I didn't think I'd feel that again. Tears pricked her eyes. Thank you for answering the door. He kissed her forehead, gentle and chaste, then disappeared into his bedroom. Tori lay down on the pull-out couch, surrounded by the sounds of Daniel's life, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic, the creak of old apartment buildings settling. She'd walked away from everything tonight. A wedding, a merger, a future that had been planned since she was old enough to understand what legacy meant. And lying there in borrowed clothes on a pull-out couch in a modest apartment, Victoria Morgan felt free for the first time in her entire life. Her phone buzzed one more time. A text from Marcus. We need to talk tomorrow. My office, 9:00 a.m. Don't make this worse than it already is. She turned off the phone and closed her eyes. Tomorrow she'd face the consequences. Tonight she'd chosen truth, and somehow, impossibly, that was enough. Tori woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the sound of a child singing off-key in another room. For a disoriented moment, she couldn't place where she was. Then memory crashed back, the wedding, the rain, Daniel's door. She sat up still, wearing Sarah's old clothes, and checked her phone. 43 missed calls, 71 text messages. Her email inbox had exploded overnight with subject lines ranging from urgent board emergency meeting to statement required immediately to a single message from her mother that read only, "How could you?" The singing grew louder. Emma's voice carried down the hallway, accompanied by the clatter of dishes. Tori stood folding the blankets carefully, trying to erase evidence of her intrusion into their morning routine. When she emerged into the kitchen, she found Daniel at the stove making pancakes, while Emma sat at the small table coloring aggressively in a princess coloring book. Emma announced to no one in particular, "The princess shouldn't marry the prince. She should marry whoever makes her happy, even if it's the baker or the dragon." Daniel caught Tori's eye over his daughter's head, a smile tugging at his mouth. Tori slid into the chair across from Emma. "I like your philosophy on princesses." Emma looked up, seeming unsurprised to find Tori still there. "My teacher says we can be anything we want, so princesses can too. They don't have to follow rules just because they're in a fancy dress." "Your teacher sounds smart." "She is. She has a tattoo of a butterfly, and sometimes she wears sparkly shoes." Emma returned to her coloring. "Are you still sad?" "A little, but less than yesterday. Daddy says being sad is okay. It means something mattered." She selected a purple crayon. "Did something matter?" Tori glanced at Daniel, who was very deliberately focused on pancakes. "Yes, something mattered very much." "Then purple is the right color. Purple is for important feelings." The simple wisdom of it made Tori's chest ache. Here was a 7-year-old who'd lost her mother, navigating emotions with more grace than most of the executives Tori knew. Daniel set down plates pancakes shaped like flowers for Emma, regular rounds for Tori. "Eat. You'll need your strength." "For what?" "For whatever comes next." They ate in companionable silence, broken only by Emma's running commentary about her coloring choices and a story about her friend Zoe, who had brought a frog to school in her lunchbox. It was so normal, so domestic, so utterly different from Tori's usual mornings of protein smoothies consumed while reviewing market reports. At 8:15, Daniel walked Emma to the bus stop while Tori cleaned the dishes and offering a way to be useful in this space that wasn't hers. When he returned, his expression had shifted into something more serious. I called in sick to work. Figured showing up today would be complicated. Daniel, you didn't have to. Yes, I did, because in about, he checked his watch, 40 minutes you're supposed to meet Marcus. And I'm guessing the press has already connected enough dots to make things interesting. As if on cue, Tori's phone rang, her assistant Jennifer. I have to answer this. I know. She picked up. Jennifer. The relief in Jennifer's voice was palpable. Oh, thank God. Where are you? Are you safe? The office is losing its mind. Your father's called 3 times. Marcus showed up at the building at 7, demanding to know your location. And Tori, she dropped her voice. There are reporters outside. Someone leaked that you left the wedding and they're camped out waiting for a statement. How bad is it? Viral. #runaway bride is trending. People are posting footage from the venue guests looking confused, Marcus's family leaving your father's face when he realized you were actually gone. Jennifer paused. Where are you? Tori looked at Daniel. Made a decision. Somewhere safe. I need you to do something for him. Anything. Clear my schedule for today. Cancel the meeting with Marcus, tell him I'll speak with him when I'm ready, not before. And schedule an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. 10 a.m. Tori, your father already called one for this afternoon. 4 p.m. He said it's mandatory. Of course he had. Robert Morgan didn't wait for his daughter to dictate timing when his legacy was at stake. Fine. 4 p.m. I'll be there. She steadied her voice. And Jennifer, thank you. For not judging. For just helping. Jennifer's voice softened. You've always been good to me. Whatever's happening, I trust you have your reasons. For what it's worth, I never liked Marcus anyway. He talked to the support staff like we were furniture. After she hung up, Tori found Daniel watching her with quiet concern. Board meeting at 4, which gives me exactly, she checked the time, 7 hours to figure out what I'm going to say. What do you want to say? The truth. That I don't love Marcus. That I won't marry someone for corporate strategy. That I'm done letting other people's expectations dictate my choices. She met his eyes. But I can't tell them about you. Not yet. It'll look like an affair, like you're the reason I left, which would destroy your career and make Emma's life hell. So you're going to protect me by lying. I'm going to protect you by being strategic about timing. There's a difference. She moved closer. Daniel, if I walk into that boardroom and announce I'm involved with an employee, they'll use it against both of us. They'll claim you manipulated me, seduced the boss. They'll paint you as opportunistic and me as compromised. Your reputation will be shredded, and Emma will have to watch her father get dragged through the press. And if you don't tell them, then I control the narrative. I make this about me choosing authenticity over convenience, about refusing to live a lie. Once the dust settles, once I've proven I can still run the company without a strategic marriage, then we can go public, on our terms, when we're ready. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. You've thought this through. I've thought about nothing else since 3 a.m. She took his hand. I know it means hiding, lying by omission. All the things I said I was done with. But this lie protects you and Emma. And right now that matters more than my principles about transparency. I don't want to be your dirty secret. You're not. You're the person I'm choosing to protect while I burn down everything else. She squeezed his fingers. Give me time. Let me handle the board, stabilize the situation, prove I'm still competent even after making the most impulsive decision of my life. Then we'll figure out how to do this publicly without it destroying us both. He studied her face, searching for something. You're sure about this? About facing them alone? I've been facing them alone my whole life. At least now I'll be doing it honestly. That's what worries me. Honesty is dangerous when you're dealing with people who trade in manipulation. Tori's phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Marcus. You embarrassed me, humiliated my family, made me look like a fool in front of everyone who matters. Whatever game you're playing, it ends now, 9:00 a.m. My office, or I make sure the board knows exactly how unstable you've become. She showed the text to Daniel. He's threatening you. He's scared. Men like Marcus don't handle rejection well, especially not public rejection. She typed back, I'll be there. But this isn't a negotiation. You shouldn't go alone. He's angry. Wounded pride makes people dangerous. I can handle Marcus. I know you can. That's not the point. He moved to the window looking out at the street below. The point is you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to manage his ego while dealing with everything else. Welcome to being a woman in power. Managing male egos is half the job description. The bitterness in her voice made him turn. That's not okay. No, but it's reality. She joined him at the window. Marcus will bluster and threaten and try to make me feel guilty for embarrassing him. He'll frame this as me being irrational, emotional, incapable of clear judgment. He'll probably offer to take me back if I apologize publicly, frame it as cold feet overcome by his magnanimous forgiveness. And you'll refuse. Clearly, finally. I'll tell him the truth he's been avoiding. I don't love him. Never did. And I'm not going to spend my life pretending otherwise just to make him feel better about himself. Daniel's hand found hers. He won't take it well. Good. Maybe learning that he can't buy or manipulate his way through everything will be character building. Despite the tension, Daniel smiled. You're terrifying when you're decisive. You say that like it's a bad thing. It's not. It's... He stopped, seeming to reconsider his words. It's exactly what I'd expect from a woman who walked away from a billion-dollar wedding because she'd rather face consequences than live a lie. At 8:50, Tori changed back into her wedding dress, the only clothes she had. The irony wasn't lost on her. Walking into Marcus's office wearing the dress she was supposed to marry him in felt like a particular kind of poetry. Daniel offered again as she prepared to leave. I could come with you. No, this is something I need to do alone. She kissed him quick and fierce. But thank you for last night, for this morning, for making me feel like choosing truth wasn't insane. It might still be insane. Then at least it's my insanity. She took a car service to Marcus's downtown office, a gleaming tower of steel and glass that housed Cunningham Capital and spoke of old money trying to look modern. Security recognized her immediately, their professional masks slipping into poorly concealed shock at her appearance. The receptionist said, carefully not mentioning the wedding dress, Mr. Cunningham is expecting you, 38th floor. The elevator ride felt endless. Tori watched herself in the mirrored walls, a woman in a ruined Vera Wang gown, hair barely tamed, makeup from yesterday smudged and faded. She looked nothing like the polished CEO who'd stood in boardrooms and commanded respect. She looked real. Marcus's office occupied a corner suite with views of the Willamette River. He stood at the windows when she entered, his back rigid with barely contained fury. His command came without turning. Close the door. She did. He spun to face her, his handsome features twisted with anger. Do you have any idea what you've done? Any concept of the chaos you've created? I left our wedding. Yes, I'm aware. You left our wedding. You disappeared for 12 hours. You ignored every attempt at contact, and you showed up here wearing, he gestured at her dress. That. Like some kind of statement. It's not a statement. It's the only outfit I had available. Where were you? The question came sharp, demanding. That's none of your business. Marcus's laugh was harsh. I'm your fiancé, or was supposed to be. I think I'm entitled to know where you spent the night after abandoning our wedding. You're not entitled to anything, not anymore. Tori moved further into the office, maintaining distance. And you were never my fiancé in any real sense. You were a strategic alliance my father arranged, a merger of families and fortunes that looked good on paper. That's not fair. We had plans of future. You had plans. I had obligations I convinced myself were the same thing. She met his eyes. But I don't love you, Marcus. I've never loved you. And I'm not going to marry you just because it makes sense for our family's business interests. His face went through several expressions: shock, anger, wounded, pride settling into something colder, more calculating. Is there someone else? The question hung between them, loaded and dangerous. This isn't about someone else. It's about me refusing to live a lie. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. Tori kept her voice level. What happened yesterday, what I did, it wasn't about you. Not really. It was about me finally being honest about what I want from my life. And what you want doesn't include me. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry if that hurts your pride, but it's the truth. Marcus moved to his desk, poured himself scotch despite the early hour. Your father called me 3 times, very concerned about your mental state. Suggested that perhaps you'd been under too much stress, that maybe we should consider a postponement rather than a cancellation. I'm not postponing. I'm done. He seems to think you might be persuaded otherwise, given time, given the right incentives. What kind of incentives? A seat on the Cunningham Capital Board, increased stake in the merger between our companies, more autonomy in how you run Morgan Industries. He sipped his scotch. Your father's willing to make significant concessions if you'll just reconsider. I'm not interested in concessions. Tori, be reasonable. You walked out on the wedding of the year, made both our families look foolish. But we can fix this. Joint statement postponement due to stress. You take some time off. We regroup, and in 6 months we do this properly. No. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years. Marcus set down his glass with deliberate care. Then let me be clear. If you don't fix this, if you insist on this ridiculous path, there will be consequences. My family has significant influence with Morgan's board. My firm holds substantial investments in your company. We have the power to make things very difficult for you. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. Your position as CEO is less secure than you think. Your father's getting older. The board's been questioning some of your recent decisions. They'd be very interested to know that their leader is making erratic choices, acting impulsively, perhaps not stable enough to guide a billion-dollar company. The threat was clear, unmistakable. Tori felt something cold and sharp settle in her chest. So, that's your play. Frame me as mentally unstable. Manipulate the board into questioning my competence. All because I won't marry you. All because you're throwing away something valuable over what gave a moment of panic. Cold feet. His voice took on a patronizing edge. Everyone gets nervous before a wedding, Tori. That's normal. But running away, disappearing, that suggests deeper issues. The only issue is that I don't want to marry you. Want is irrelevant. This is business. My life is not business. Everything is business when you're at our level. Marcus came around the desk, moving closer. You were raised for this, Tori. To understand that personal desires are secondary to legacy, to family, to maintaining the structures that keep power where it belongs. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. It's reality. And the sooner you accept it, the easier this will be. Tori looked at the man she'd almost married, really looked at him, saw the entitlement written in every line of his expensive suit, the absolute certainty that he deserved her compliance, the inability to conceive of a world where she might choose something other than what he offered. Her voice came quietly. I feel sorry for you. You genuinely can't understand why I'd walk away. Why I'd choose uncertainty over a comfortable lie. You're so trapped in this world of transactions and leverage that you've forgotten people are supposed to actually feel things. Feelings are a luxury for people who can afford them. No, feelings are what make us human. Everything else is just negotiation. Marcus's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. The board meeting this afternoon, I'll be there. And I'll be explaining to them exactly why you're not fit to continue as CEO. Your father might protect you, but the other board members care about stability competence. They won't tolerate leadership that acts on impulse. Then I guess we'll see what they decide. Last chance, Tori. Come back. Apologize. We'll fix this together. No. She turned toward the door. Marcus's voice came from behind her. There's someone else. I can see it in how you're standing, how you're talking. You didn't just run from the wedding, you ran to someone. Tori's hand stilled on the doorknob. Who is he? Some nobody who made you feel special. Made you think you could have some fantasy life away from responsibility. His voice dripped contempt. Let me guess. Younger poor someone completely inappropriate who makes you feel like you're rebelling against Daddy. She turned back slowly. You don't know anything about me. About what I want. What I need. I know you're about to destroy everything you've built for someone who will never understand your world, never fit into it, who will drag you down instead of elevating you. Or maybe he'll remind me what it feels like to be seen as a person instead of an asset. The confirmation that there was someone made Marcus's face contort with rage. Who is it? Do I know him? Is he someone from the company? Tori pulled out her phone, stopped the recording she'd started the moment she walked into his office. Every threat, every manipulation, every word about using your influence to damage my career, all recorded. Marcus's face went white. You can't. I can. And I will if you come anywhere near the man I care about. You want to fight me in the boardroom? Fine. That's fair game, but you threaten him, you threaten his family, you make any attempt to use your resources to hurt him. Her voice went cold. And I will burn your reputation to the ground so thoroughly that no amount of family money will rehabilitate it. You're bluffing. Try me. See what happens when you back a woman with nothing left to lose into a corner. She left before he could respond, taking the elevator down 38 floors with her heart pounding and her hands shaking. Only when she reached the street did she let herself breathe. Her phone buzzed. Daniel. His text read, How did it go? She typed back. He threatened to find out who I was with and destroy them. I told him I'd destroy him first. His response came quickly. Tori. Another message I recorded everything. Insurance. He won't touch you. A pause, then. That's not what I'm worried about. She knew what he meant. What are you worried about? His reply. You fighting this alone. The words made her eyes sting. She stood on a Portland Street corner in a ruined wedding dress, corporate warriors circling her entire life balanced on the edge of collapse, and someone was worried about her. She texted, I'm okay, heading to the office to prepare for the board meeting. I'll call you after. Daniel. Be careful. Tori always. She wasn't, though. Careful had never been her strong suit when she actually cared about something. The Morgan Industries building looked the same as always, glass and steel, and the logo she'd redesigned 3 years ago. But walking through the lobby felt different. People stared, whispered. Her wedding dress drew eyes like a beacon. Jennifer met her at the executive elevator, professional mask firmly in place. Conference room C is ready. I brought your emergency office clothes and coffee. You'll need coffee. You're a miracle. I'm loyal to good bosses. There's a difference. In the conference room, Tori changed into the black suit she kept for unexpected meetings, then spent 2 hours reviewing financials, recent decisions, everything the board might use against her. At 3:30, her father arrived. Robert Morgan looked every inch the titan who'd built Morgan Industries from nothing. Silver hair, perfectly styled, suit, custom-tailored expression carved from granite. His voice brooked no argument. "We need to talk before the meeting." "I don't think we do." "Tori, please. 5 minutes." She'd never been able to refuse him completely. They moved to her private office, the city sprawling below them through floor-to-ceiling windows. He started carefully. "You're my daughter. I love you. You know that. But you're also the CEO of my company. And what you did yesterday, it wasn't just personal. It was professional suicide. I disagree. The board is furious. Marcus's family is calling for your removal. Our investors are panicking about leadership stability." He moved closer. "I've spent the last 18 hours trying to protect you, trying to convince people this was temporary insanity, brought on by stress. But you're not making it easy." "I don't want to make it easy. I want to tell the truth." "The truth?" His voice rose. "The truth is, you abandoned a wedding in front of 850 people, made us all look like fools, destroyed a strategic alliance that took years to build. What truth could possibly justify that?" "The truth that I don't love him. That I've been lying to myself and everyone else because I thought that's what being a good CEO required. That I'd rather face consequences than spend 50 years pretending to be happy." Robert's expression softened slightly. "You think I don't understand? You think your mother and I married for love? This was an arrangement. Two families' beneficial merger. We made it work because that's what adults do. I don't want to make it work. I want to actually live. Living is a luxury we don't have. We have responsibilities, legacies, people depending on us. Then maybe I'm not the right person to carry that legacy." The words hung between them, radical and terrifying. Robert said quietly, "Don't say that. Don't even think it. You're exactly the right person. You tripled our value-landed contracts I couldn't have imagined. You earned this position. Then trust me to know what I need. I do trust you with business. But this," he gestured vaguely, "this is different. This is emotion overriding judgment, and I can't let you destroy yourself because you're having a moment of crisis." "It's not a moment, it's a reckoning." Her father studied her for a long moment. "There's someone else, isn't there?" Tori's silence was answer enough. "Who?" "It doesn't matter. It matters if he's the reason my daughter threw away her future." "He's not the reason. He's the reminder that I deserve better than a marriage of convenience." She met her father's eyes. "Do you love Mom? Actually love her, or is it just comfortable?" "That's not fair." "It's a simple question." Robert moved to the window, looking out at the city he'd conquered. "Your mother and I have built something. Partnership, respect, shared goals. Love grows from that in time." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I have." He turned back. "And it's been enough. It sustained us for 40 years, given us you built this empire. That's more than most people get from chasing fairy tales." "I don't want a fairy tale. I want to actually feel something." "Feeling passes. Legacy endures." "Then let my legacy be honesty instead of empire." The board meeting started at 4 sharp. 12 faces around a mahogany table, each representing billions in investments and decades of influence. Tori took her seat at the head spine straight, expression calm. Her father sat to her right. Charles Cunningham, Marcus's father, sat directly across a clear power play. Robert began, "Let's begin. We're here to discuss yesterday's events and their impact on company leadership." Charles Cunningham didn't wait for pleasantries. "My family and yours had an agreement, a merger that would have benefited both companies substantially. Your daughter destroyed that agreement in the most public, humiliating way possible. Tori said evenly, I ended a personal engagement, not a business contract. Personal and professional are inseparable at our level. You know that. Charles's voice was sharp. Your erratic behavior raises serious questions about your judgment, your stability, your fitness to lead. Erratic behavior. I made a choice not to marry someone I don't love. That's called integrity, not instability. You made a spectacle, embarrassed both families, created a PR nightmare. Charles leaned forward. And now we hear there may be someone else involved. Someone inappropriate. Tori felt the room's attention sharpen. My personal life is not board business. It is when it affects company reputation. Patricia Walsh, another board member, interjected. If there's been inappropriate conduct with an employee that absolutely affects your position. There has been no inappropriate conduct. Then who is he? Charles pressed. This mystery man worth destroying a strategic alliance for. That's not relevant to this meeting. Everything about your judgment is relevant. Charles pulled out his phone, tapped the screen. My investigators are already looking into your recent activities, cross-referencing schedules, checking security logs, interviewing sources. We'll know soon enough. Tori felt ice in her veins. She'd protected Daniel for now, but how long before someone connected dots? Before security footage showed her leaving in her wedding dress, arriving at an apartment building in Selwood. Her father interjected, This is a board meeting, not an interrogation. We're here to discuss leadership, not pry into Tori's private affairs. Patricia said carefully, Robert, I understand she's your daughter, but we have a responsibility to shareholders, to company stability. If she's compromised, I'm not compromised. I made a difficult personal choice that has nothing to do with my ability to run this company. Charles smiled coldly. Doesn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, you've demonstrated incredibly poor judgment. Impulsive decision-making, inability to honor commitments, all qualities we can't afford in leadership. The meeting devolved from there. Accusations and defenses, thinly veiled threats, and careful maneuvering. Tori defended herself with every skill she'd developed, but she could feel the room turning. Not all of them, but enough. Her father fought for her. Jennifer Tanaka, who'd always respected Tori's work, argued for separating personal choices from professional competence. But the Cunningham faction was strong, and they wanted blood. At 6 o'clock, they called for a vote of confidence. Charles declared, all those who believe Victoria Morgan should remain CEO pending no further evidence of impropriety or instability indicate now. 6 hands rose, including her father's. Those opposed, 6 hands, including every board member connected to Cunningham Capital. Robert's voice was firm. Motion results in deadlock. Ms. Morgan retains her position pending Monday's full review with legal counsel. Meeting adjourned. But Tori knew what the numbers meant. 6-6. The barest majority. One shift in allegiance, and she'd be out. Charles paused at the door. This isn't over. My son may have been willing to forgive your betrayal. I'm not. We will find out who you're protecting. And when we do, we'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of leader you really are. After they'd all left, Tori sat alone in the conference room, exhaustion crashing over her in waves. Her phone buzzed. Daniel. His text. Are you okay? She typed back with shaking hands. I survived. Barely. They're investigating, looking for you. Daniel. Let them look. I'm not hiding. Tori. You don't understand what they'll do. Daniel. I understand perfectly, but I'm not going to let you fight this alone. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't argue. She wanted to argue, wanted to protect him, keep him separate from the carnage. But God, she was tired of being alone. And the thought of seeing him, of having someone on her side who cared more about her than corporate strategy, was too tempting to refuse. She texted, okay. 20 minutes later, Daniel Mitchell walked into her executive office like he belonged there. No hesitation, no fear, just steady presence and determined eyes. She said unnecessarily, "You came." "Of course I came." He crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. "You faced them alone. The least I can do is be here when you're falling apart." "I'm not falling apart." "You're shaking." She was. Now that she'd stopped performing, stopped defending, stopped fighting, her body was catching up to the trauma of the last 24 hours. She whispered against his chest, "They're looking for you. Charles Cunningham has investigators. They'll find security footage. They'll put together that I went to your apartment. They'll destroy you." "Let them try." "You don't mean that." "I absolutely mean that." He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. "Tori, I told you last night I'm with you. That doesn't mean I'm only with you when it's convenient or safe. That means I'm with you when it's terrifying and impossible and likely to end badly. This could cost you everything. You already cost me everything the moment I fell in love with you. There's no going back from this. No safe version where we protect ourselves and still get to be together. So we might as well be brave about it. You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Tori's phone buzzed. A news alert: breaking sources say runaway bride Victoria Morgan may have been involved with Morgan Industries employee. Investigation ongoing. It had started. The unraveling they'd both feared. She showed him the screen. "It's happening. Faster than I thought." Daniel read over her shoulder. "Then we get ahead of it. Tell the truth on our terms before they twist it into something ugly. If we go public now, they'll crucify you, frame you as manipulative, say you seduced your boss. And if we hide, they'll say the same thing, but we'll look guilty." He took her hands. "Tori, there's no good option here, but there's an honest one. We tell the truth, we own it, we face whatever comes together." She looked at this man, this good, steady, impossible man who'd somehow become the most important person in her carefully constructed world. Her voice came steady. Okay, we tell the truth." They drafted a statement together, short, direct, true. Tori typed while Daniel paced behind her desk, both of them aware they were about to detonate whatever remained of her carefully constructed professional life. The words came sparse. "I left my wedding because I don't love Marcus Cunningham and never have. I have feelings for Daniel Mitchell, a Morgan Industries engineer. Our relationship began after my engagement ended and was never inappropriate. I take full responsibility for my choices and their consequences. I will not apologize for choosing honesty." Daniel's finger hovered over the send button on her computer. "Are you ready?" Tori took a breath, thought about everything she was about to unleash: the scandal, the judgment, the board's fury, the press feeding frenzy. Then she thought about spending the next 50 years pretending to be someone she wasn't. "Send it." He did, and together they watched the world explode. The statement went live at 6:47 on a Friday evening. By 7, Tori's phone had received over 400 notifications. By 7:30, the story had been picked up by every major news outlet in the Pacific Northwest. By 8, it was national. Tori stood at her office window watching the city lights flicker to life, while her world caught fire online. Daniel sat at her desk monitoring the media response on his laptop, his expression growing grimmer with each refresh. His voice came quiet. "They're calling you reckless, saying you threw away a fortune for a fling, that you've lost perspective." "What are they saying about you?" His silence was answer enough. "Daniel, tell me that I'm a gold digger, an opportunist, that I saw a vulnerable woman and manipulated her for my own gain." He looked up, pain etched across his features. "One article is questioning my fitness as a father, suggesting that someone who'd pursue his boss might not have appropriate boundaries with his daughter." Tori's hands clenched into fists. That's disgusting. That's reality. We knew this would happen. Knowing it and watching it are different things. She moved away from the window, began pacing. They're going after Emma, a 7-year-old child, because her father fell in love with the wrong person. She doesn't read the news. She won't see it. But her friends' parents will. Her teachers will. In a week, she'll be the kid whose dad is all over the internet for sleeping with his billionaire boss. We didn't sleep together. You think that matters truth is irrelevant when scandal is more interesting. Tori's voice was bitter as she reached for her phone. It rang before she could. Jennifer, your father wants to see you. Now. He's waiting in the conference room. Tell him I'll be there in 5 minutes. Tori, Jennifer's voice dropped. He's not alone. The full board is here. Tori felt her stomach drop. It's almost 9 p.m. on a Friday. I know. They called an emergency session 10 minutes after your statement went live. Of course they had. She'd just handed them everything they needed to remove her. I'm on my way. She hung up, met Daniel's worried gaze. Emergency board meeting. They're going to use the statement to force me out. Then I'm coming with you. Daniel, no. That'll only make things worse. Worse than what? Worse than every news outlet in the country calling me a manipulative parasite. Worse than my daughter's name being dragged through this. His jaw set with determination. If they're going to crucify you for being with me, the least I can do is stand there and take some of the hits. They'll eviscerate you. They're already doing that. Might as well earn it. Against her better judgment, Tori let him come. They rode the elevator down to the conference level in tense silence, her hand finding as both of them drawing strength from the contact. The boardroom was full when they arrived. All 12 members present their faces ranging from sympathetic to furious. Her father sat at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. Charles Cunningham sat opposite, looking like a man who'd just won a long-fought battle. Every pair of eyes tracked to Daniel as he entered behind Tori. Charles's voice dripped false courtesy. Mr. Mitchell, how kind of you to join us, though I don't recall extending an invitation. Daniel replied calmly. I'm here because this meeting is about me as much as it's about Tori. Seems only fair I get to hear what you plan to do to us. What we plan to do is restore sanity to this company's leadership, Patricia Walsh interjected. Tori, what were you thinking? Releasing that statement without board approval, confirming an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. There was nothing inappropriate. Our relationship began after my engagement ended. Your engagement ended yesterday, and you were at his apartment last night in your wedding dress. Charles pulled out a tablet, turned it to show security footage. Building cameras captured you entering his residence at 8:42 p.m. You didn't leave until this morning. So forgive us for questioning the timeline. Tori felt Daniel tense beside her. I went to Daniel's apartment because I needed someone I trusted. Someone who wouldn't judge me or try to manipulate me back into a marriage I didn't want. Yes, I stayed the night on his couch because I had nowhere else to go where I wouldn't be found and forced into conversations I wasn't ready to have. Charles's skepticism was palpable. And we're supposed to believe nothing happened. Believe what you want. I'm telling you the truth. The truth is you've compromised yourself and this company. Patricia's voice was sharp. You've created a hostile work environment by pursuing a subordinate. You've demonstrated catastrophically poor judgment. And you've made Morgan Industries the subject of a media circus that's already affecting our stock price. Robert Hawthorne finally spoke, his voice heavy. The stock dropped 6% in the last 3 hours. Our investors are panicking. Our partners are reconsidering contracts. This isn't just personal scandal, Tori. This is affecting the entire company. I understand that. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you seem to think your personal choices exist in a vacuum. That you can do whatever you want without consequences for the thousands of people who depend on this company. The words hit harder, coming from her father. The disappointment in his voice was worse than Charles's anger. I never said there wouldn't be consequences. I said I was willing to face them. Are you willing to face them for him? Charles gestured at Daniel. For your employees, for your father who built this company from nothing. Yes, because the alternative is lying and I'm done with that. Charles stood. Then you're done as CEO. I'm calling for an immediate vote. All those in favor of removing Victoria Morgan from her position as Chief Executive Officer, effective, immediately indicate now. Robert protested. You can't do that. There are procedures due process, which she violated by engaging in a relationship with an employee, by creating exactly the kind of scandal that damages shareholder value, by demonstrating she prioritizes personal desires over company welfare. Charles's voice was cold. We have cause, we have grounds, and we have the votes. Daniel stepped forward. Before you vote, you should know something. Tori didn't pursue me, I pursued her. The room went silent. What? Tori turned to him. It's true. I'm the one who crossed lines first. 3 months ago, I stayed late working on the Henderson project. Tori was still in her office. I brought her coffee. We talked, and I told her I thought she was remarkable. Not as a boss, as a person. Daniel's voice was steady despite the weight of 12 sets of eyes on him. She shut it down immediately. Told me it was inappropriate. That we needed to maintain professional boundaries. I apologized and backed off, but I didn't stop feeling what I felt. Patricia said carefully, Mr. Mitchell, you're not helping your case. I'm not trying to help my case. I'm trying to tell you the truth about who pursued whom. He looked at Charles. You want to paint Tori as someone who abused her power, who manipulated an employee. You're wrong. She did everything right, maintained distance, never acted on anything, never even acknowledged there might be something there. Not until after she left that wedding, not until she'd already made the choice to walk away from Marcus for her own reasons. Charles said dismissively, that's a convenient narrative. It's the truth. And if you want to fire someone for crossing professional lines, fire me. I'm the one who made it complicated first. Tori grabbed his arm. Daniel, stop. Don't sacrifice yourself. I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm making sure they know the facts before they destroy you for something that wasn't your fault. He turned back to the board. Victoria Morgan is the best CEO this company has ever had. She tripled your value. She landed contracts that changed your market position. She turned her father's regional success story into a national powerhouse. And you're ready to throw that away because she fell in love with someone you think is beneath her. Patricia's voice had softened slightly. It's not about who she loves. It's about judgment. Optics, the appearance of impropriety. Then let's talk about optics. What does it say about this company if you fire the CEO who told the truth, who refused to marry someone for business reasons, who chose honesty over convenience? You think that makes you look principled? It makes you look like you value appearances over integrity. Charles shot back. We value stability, something your girlfriend has destroyed. She destroyed a comfortable lie. There's a difference. Robert Morgan had been watching this exchange with an unreadable expression. Now he spoke, his voice measured. Mr. Mitchell, you clearly care about my daughter. That's admirable, but this isn't about feelings. This is about whether Tori can continue to lead effectively given what's happened. Can she lead effectively? She's been doing it all day. Faced down Marcus. Sat through your interrogation this afternoon. Released a statement taking full responsibility. And she's still here. Still fighting. Still trying to do right by this company even though you're all ready to abandon her. Daniel's voice gained strength. You want to know about leadership, watch what she does next. Because I guarantee you Victoria Morgan will handle this crisis better than anyone else in this room would. The silence that followed was heavy with consideration. Finally, Jennifer Tanaka spoke, one of the board members who'd voted for Tori earlier. Robert, may I suggest something? Of course. We're making this decision in crisis mode, reacting instead of thinking strategically. She looked at Tori. You've admitted to a relationship with an employee. That's grounds for discipline, yes, but it's not necessarily grounds for removal, not if we handle it properly. Patricia asked, what are you suggesting? A formal ethics review. Independent investigation into the timeline and nature of the relationship. If it's confirmed that nothing inappropriate happened while Tori was engaged or before the relationship was disclosed, we move forward with appropriate measures, mandatory training, revised policies, whatever's needed. But we don't throw away our most successful CEO over a personal choice that didn't actually violate policy until we have all the facts. Charles protested. That could take weeks. Meanwhile, the media circus continues. Jennifer interrupted. The media circus continues either way, but if we fire Tori now, we look reactive, scared, like we're caving to pressure instead of following our own procedures. If we conduct a proper review, we look responsible, measured, like a company that takes ethics seriously enough to investigate thoroughly. Robert was nodding slowly. Jennifer has a point. We rushed into this afternoon's vote. We shouldn't make the same mistake tonight. Charles said sharply, You're letting your personal feelings cloud your judgment. She's your daughter. Which is exactly why I should recuse myself from this vote, and I do officially. Robert stood. But I'm also the founder of this company, and I'm telling you that hasty decisions made in anger rarely serve anyone well. Take the weekend. Let emotions cool. Review the facts. Then make a decision you can all stand behind. Charles looked around the table, clearly calculating votes. Without Robert's automatic support for Tori, the math had shifted. But Jennifer's suggestion had planted doubt. Fine. We table the vote until Monday. But Tori, you're on administrative leave until then. No company decisions. No public statements. And Mr. Mitchell, he turned to Daniel, you're suspended pending the investigation's outcome. Tori protested. You can't suspend him for my choices. We can and will. If there's been any quid pro quo promotions, preferential treatment, anything that suggests his relationship with you affected his employment, that's grounds for termination. Charles's smile was cold. And given that you've been his direct supervisor for 3 years, I'm certain we'll find something. Daniel's hand found Tori's under the table, squeezed gently. It's okay. Let them investigate. They won't find anything because there's nothing to find. We'll see about that. Charles gathered his papers. Meeting adjourned until Monday at 9 a.m. Tori, Daniel, I suggest you both retain lawyers. You're going to need them. The board filed out, some throwing sympathetic glances at Tori, others carefully avoiding eye contact. Her father lingered, clearly wanting to say something, but Charles was waiting, and the moment passed. When they were alone, Tori sank into a chair, the weight of everything crashing down. Daniel pulled up a chair beside her. They're going to tear apart every decision you've made regarding me, every project assignment, every promotion, every conversation. Let them. They'll find that you were harder on me than anyone else, that you held me to higher standards because you were so careful about avoiding favoritism. He took her hand. Tori, your integrity is going to save you here. You were so determined not to show preference that you actually made my job harder. Was I? The question came out small. I tried so hard not to let feelings affect decisions. But what if they did anyway? What if I unconsciously gave you opportunities? You didn't. If anything, you passed me over for things I'd earned because you were worried about appearances. He traced her knuckles with his thumb. Remember the Seattle expansion project? I was the obvious choice to lead development. I had the most experience with that client base, but you gave it to Mike instead because you didn't want people questioning why I got the assignment. I remember. You were angry. I was frustrated because I knew I'd earned it, and you were punishing both of us for something we hadn't even acted on. His voice gentled. That's what they're going to find, Tori. A pattern of you bending over backward to be fair, to avoid even the appearance of favoritism. Your integrity is bulletproof. Then why do I feel like I'm about to lose everything? Because you might. Because standing up for truth doesn't guarantee winning. It just guarantees you'll know you did the right thing when it's over. Her phone buzzed. A text from Emma's school principal, Hayes. The message made Tori's chest tighten. Ms. Morgan, Mr. Mitchell, we've become aware of media attention surrounding your family. While we support all families, we want to ensure Emma's well-being. Can we schedule a meeting to discuss how to minimize classroom disruption? Daniel read over her shoulder, his face going pale. They're worried about disruption. Jesus. She's 7 years old and they're trying to protect her. That's their job. Their job is to educate her, not judge her father based on tabloid gossip. I know. But we need to get ahead of this. Talk to Emma before someone else does. Help her understand what's happening in age-appropriate terms. Daniel ran both hands through his hair, the first real crack in his composure showing. How do I explain to my daughter that the internet thinks her dad is a bad person, that people are saying terrible things about choices I made that have nothing to do with her? You tell her the truth, the simple version, that you care about someone, that some people don't understand, but that it doesn't change how much you love her or how good a dad you are. And when her friends' parents don't let them play with her anymore, when she gets teased at school, when she asks me why people are being mean. The raw pain in his voice broke Tori's heart. This was exactly what she'd feared, the consequences of her choices falling on people who didn't deserve them. Maybe I should step back. Maybe if I release another statement, say it was a mistake, that I was confused, we could claim it was temporary insanity brought on by stress. Daniel's voice came firm. No, we're not lying. Not even to protect Emma. Because you know what's worse than her dealing with this mess. Her learning that sometimes we pretend to be people we're not because it's easier. That we lie about what matters to make other people comfortable. She's 7, Daniel. She shouldn't have to be brave about her father's love life. She's 7, and she's already braver than most adults I know. She watched her mother die. She rebuilt her life in a new city with a grieving father who barely knew how to function. She can handle this. He pulled Tori closer. What she can't handle is me teaching her that love is something to be ashamed of. That telling the truth is wrong if people don't like the answer. You're sure? I'm terrified, but I'm sure. He kissed her temple. We go talk to her together. We explain what's happening. And we show her that sometimes doing the right thing is hard, but we do it anyway. They left the office at 10 p.m., taking separate cars to avoid photos of them together. Tori drove through rain-slick streets to Daniel's apartment, her mind racing through possible scenarios, trying to prepare for a conversation she had no template for. Emma was still awake when they arrived, being watched by Daniel's neighbor, a kind elderly woman named Mrs. Brennan, who'd helped with childcare since they'd moved to Portland. Thank you for staying late. I know this is beyond, Mrs. Brennan interrupted gently. That baby needed someone. I stayed. Simple as that. She gathered her knitting, then paused. Those people on the news, they don't know you, don't know your heart. Anyone who's watched you with Emma knows what kind of man you are. The kindness in her voice made Daniel's eyes shine with moisture. Thank you. After she left, they found Emma in the living room building an elaborate castle out of blocks. Daddy! She launched herself at him, all wild curls and 7-year-old energy. You're home, Mrs. Brennan let me stay up because you were working late. She noticed Tori, her expression brightening. You came back? Hi, sweetheart. Tori knelt down to her level. Your castle is beautiful. It's for a queen who doesn't need a prince. She has a dragon friend instead. Emma returned to her construction. Ms. Patricia at school says princes are optional. I think she's right. Daniel's voice turned serious. Emma, honey, can you sit down for a minute? We need to talk to you about something. The seriousness in his tone made Emma pause. She settled on the couch, elephant clutched to her chest, her small face suddenly worried. Did I do something wrong? No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong, but something's happening that might affect you, and we want you to hear about it from us first. Okay. Her voice was very small. Daniel sat beside her, Tori taking the chair opposite. You know how people sometimes care about each other? How Daddy cared about Mommy? Emma nodded. Well, sometimes grown-ups develop feelings for someone new, and that's what's happened with me and Tori. Emma looked between them, processing. You like her? Like her. Despite everything, Tori had to suppress a smile at the elementary school phrasing. Yes, I like her, and she likes me too. Oh, Emma seemed to consider this. Is that bad? No, it's not bad, but some people think it is because Tori is my boss at work, and those people are talking about it on the news and on the internet. What are they saying? Daniel's jaw tightened. Some unkind things about me, about Tori, and some of those things might affect you, how people talk to you, ask you questions. Maybe some kids at school might say things because their parents have been watching the news. He pulled her closer. And I need you to know that none of what's being said changes anything about us, about our family, about how much I love you. Emma was quiet for a long moment, her child's mind working through adult complications. Finally, she looked at Tori with devastating directness. Do you make my daddy happy? The question was so direct, so achingly simple that Tori felt tears prick her eyes. I hope so. He makes me very happy. Good. Because he's been sad since Mommy died. Not all the time, but sometimes I see it like he's happy on the outside, but still sad underneath. Emma turned to her father. Are you still sad underneath? Daniel's voice was thick with emotion. A little. I'll always miss Mommy. But Tori makes the sad part smaller, makes me remember what it feels like to be happy all the way through. Then I don't care what people say. Emma's voice was matter-of-fact. If someone makes you happy, that's good. Ms. Patricia says we should be kind and happy is important, so if people are being mean about it, they're wrong. It's not quite that simple, sweetheart. Why not? Emma looked genuinely confused. If you're not hurting anyone and you're happy, why does it matter what other people think? Out of the mouths of babes, Tori thought. A 7-year-old had just articulated what she'd been struggling to explain to a boardroom full of adults. You're absolutely right. It shouldn't matter, but sometimes grown-ups make things complicated. Grown-ups make everything complicated. Emma sighed with the weight of ancient wisdom. Zoe's parents got divorced, and everyone asked me if I was worried you'd find a new wife and forget about Mommy. But I said you wouldn't because you're not dumb. You can love Mommy and still like someone new. Hearts don't run out of room. Daniel pulled his daughter into his lap, holding her tight. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just forget sometimes because I'm small. She snuggled against him, then reached out a hand to Tori. Can you come sit with us? Tori moved to the couch, and Emma immediately arranged them so she was between them, one small hand holding each of theirs. There. Now we're together, and if people say mean things, we're together, so it's okay. They sat like that for a long time, an improbable, impossible little unit against the world. Eventually, Emma yawned, the late hour catching up with her. Daniel carried her to bed, and Tori heard him reading her a story through the thin walls, his voice gentle and steady. When he emerged 20 minutes later, he looked exhausted. She took it better than I expected. She's remarkable. You've raised someone extraordinary. I've raised someone who's had to deal with too much loss already. And now I'm adding scandal to the list. You're also showing her what it looks like to be honest, to stand up for what matters. That's worth something. Daniel sank onto the couch beside her. Monday's going to be brutal. The investigation, the board. Charles Cunningham is going to find every email we've ever exchanged and twist it into evidence of impropriety. Let him look. We've been professional, careful. There's nothing to find except 3 years of me being half in love with you and trying to hide it. That's not a crime. That's just human. Her phone buzzed again. Another news alert. She glanced at it, felt her stomach drop. Breaking anonymous source claims. Victoria Morgan promised employee promotions in exchange for relationship. No. The word came out sharp. That's a lie. That never, I know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. But they don't need truth. They just need a story that sells. Daniel took the phone from her, set it aside. This is how they're going to play it. Anonymous sources. Unverifiable claims. Death by 1,000 cuts until your reputation is so damaged the board has no choice but to remove you. Richard's behind this. Has to be. He's feeding stories to the press. Can you prove it? No. Which is exactly why he's doing it this way. Tori stood, began pacing again. God, I should have seen this coming. Should have known he wouldn't just fight fair in the boardroom. He'll use every weapon he has. Then we need weapons too. Like what I've already told the truth. I don't have dirty secrets to leak or anonymous sources to deploy. My only ammunition is honesty, and that's not enough against someone willing to lie. Then we make it enough. Daniel's voice was determined. We document everything. Every decision you made regarding me, every project, every review. We build a timeline that proves beyond doubt that you never showed favoritism, that if anything you were harder on me than anyone else. That'll take days. The vote is Monday. Then we work all weekend. I'll pull my personnel file. You access your decision logs. We'll build a case so airtight they can't ignore it. Tori looked at him. This man who'd already lost so much, who was now offering to spend his weekend building a defense for her job. Why are you doing this? Why are you fighting so hard for me when walking away would make your life infinitely easier? Because 3 years ago, I was drowning. Grief, single parenthood trying to rebuild in a city where I knew no one. And the first person who made me feel like maybe I could survive was you. He stood cross to her. You didn't know it. Didn't know that every time you asked how I was doing, every time you noticed when I was struggling, every small kindness, it mattered. It pulled me back from the edge bit by bit. He cupped her face. I'm not walking away from the person who saved me just because staying is hard. I'm not that man. And you're not the woman who gives up when things get complicated. So we fight. Together. Whatever it takes. The kiss was different this time, not desperate or claiming, but steady, a promise of partnership in the face of impossible odds. When they broke apart, Tori felt something shift inside her, a settling of resolve, a clarification of purpose. Okay, we fight, but we do it my way. What's your way? Full transparency, complete honesty. We don't just prove there was no impropriety, we show them exactly what did happen, how we fell in love despite every reason not to, how we tried to deny it, how we maintained boundaries until I'd already walked away from Marcus. We give them the whole story, the real story, and we trust that truth is more compelling than whatever lies Charles is spinning. That's risky, opening ourselves up like that. Everything about this is risky. Might as well risk it honestly. They worked through the night building a comprehensive timeline. Tori's decision logs showed a pattern of her actually passing Daniel over for opportunities: the Seattle expansion, the lead engineer role on the Martinez account, the chance to present at the industrial conference. Every instance where he'd been qualified, but she'd chosen someone else. His performance reviews showed high marks, but nothing that stood out as preferential. If anything, her feedback was more critical of his work than any other employees. Their email history was scrupulously professional. No flirtation. No personal conversations. Just project updates and technical discussions. "This is good." Daniel studied the documents as dawn began to break. "This shows you were actually more careful with me than with other employees." Because I was terrified someone would notice how I felt. So I overcompensated. Tori rubbed her eyes, exhaustion making everything feel surreal. God, 3 years of loving you and being too scared to admit it. What a waste. Not a waste. Necessary. We weren't ready. I wasn't ready. Emma needed stability, and I needed to actually process Sarah's death before I could be present for someone new. He took her hand across the scattered documents. "And you needed to figure out who you were outside of everyone else's expectations. We got here when we were supposed to. You really believe that?" "I have to. Otherwise, all this pain is for nothing." Her phone rang her father. She answered on speaker. "Dad." Robert's voice was grim. "Tori, I need you to listen very carefully. Charles isn't waiting until Monday. He's called another emergency session for this afternoon, 1 p.m. He has 3 more board members ready to vote for your removal. He can't do that. We agreed to wait until Monday. He found something, or claims he did. An email from Daniel to a colleague 2 years ago. Something about you." Robert paused. "I don't know what it says yet, but he's using it as evidence that this relationship has been going on longer than you claimed." Daniel had gone pale. "What email? To whom?" "To another engineer, Mike Russo. Apparently you mentioned Tori in it." Tori watched Daniel's face cycle through confusion to sudden realization. "Oh, God. The after-work drinks. I remember. Mike was asking if I was ever going to date again. I said something stupid." He stopped looking, horrified. "Like what?" Tori pressed. "Like the only woman I'd been even remotely interested in was completely off limits. And when he pushed, I said," Daniel closed his eyes, "I said, even if Victoria Morgan wasn't my boss, she's so far out of my league we're not even playing the same sport. But watching her work is like watching an artist. Makes me remember what it feels like to admire someone." Silence fell. Robert's voice came through the speaker. "That's it. That's what Charles is using. That's an admission that I had feelings 2 years ago, while Tori was engaged to Marcus, while she was still his boss." Daniel's voice was flat. "Charles will frame it as proof we've been carrying on an affair for years, that Tori left Marcus for me, that everything we've said about the timeline is a lie. It's not an affair if we never acted on it. Try explaining that distinction to a hostile board already looking for reasons to remove you." Robert's sigh was heavy. "Tori, this is bad. This gives them exactly what they need to claim your judgment has been compromised for years. That you've been lying about when the relationship started. That you prioritize personal feelings over company welfare long before yesterday." Tori felt the walls closing in. Every defense they'd built, every piece of evidence they'd gathered, all of it undermined by one casual comment in an email sent 2 years ago. "What do I do?" The question came out smaller than she'd intended. "You come to the meeting, you tell the truth again, and you hope that enough people believe you." Robert paused. "And Tori, you should prepare for the possibility that this time truth won't be enough.